Hey folks, welcome to another edition of Tinnitist TV. Today I am talking to the one and only Jimi Tenor. You know, a lot of musicians try to stay in their own lane, but Jimi Tenor, he swerves all over the road, artistically and literally. This Finnish musician has lived and recorded all over the world. He plays multiple instruments including keyboards, sax, and flute. His sound flits between jazz, electronica, vintage pop, Afrobeat, and anything else that strikes his fancy. Over the past 30 years, he's released dozens of solo albums and collaborations with artists like Tony Allen, Nicole, Willis, and the Soul Investigators. And when he isn't making music, he's probably taking pictures, inventing a new instrument, working on his tennis game, designing fashions, or even writing a book. But this week is a busy one even for Tenor. Along with his umpteenth album, Multiversum, a typically colorful collection of sounds and styles, he also released his book, Omniverse, a collection of photographs and stories from his incredible life and career. Recently, Tenor zoomed in from his Helsinki home to talk to me about both projects, show me his new electric flute, find out who Lizzo is, and more. Enjoy. Well, Jimi Tenor, thanks so much for taking some time to talk to me today. It is a pleasure to finally meet you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Nice.
my pleasure to have you. So we're here today. We're sitting in front of our computers trying to figure out Zoom today because you've got a new album and a book out at the same time. Multiversum is the album. Omniverse is the book. Is that just a coincidence, or did you kind of plan this this double punch all along?
Yeah, well, originally it was supposed to be only the book, and then the label Bureau B said that, like, why don't you make a record, that would kind of match the book somehow. And they liked the style that I do with sort of like a home studio style. So they, that's what I did. So everything is recorded at home and by myself.
And so how do you see it sort of being a complement to the book? Just that homemade approach, or are there other aspects of it that you see fitting in?
Maybe that's, I don't know if there are any other.
So you just pulled it out of your butt is what you're saying, basically.
Yeah,
right?
I just made an album and a bunch of tracks, but I tried to incorporate like several different kind of approaches. I use this kind of trigger delay thing that I use sequencer to sort of trigger the delay, and it's kind of like a funny thing which I used to do like maybe like in the 90s at some point, and so I tried to do a little bit of the 90s style, which this label likes, so why not?
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of fair, because to me, and I have to be honest with you, I love your music, but I am by no means an expert on it because you just have your catalog is so vast. So
Yeah.
I mean, when I listen to this album, I do hear, that you are covering a lot of ground in terms of you've got some jazz, you've got some sort of 60s style pop, there's some electronics, there's a little bit of African. So it does feel to me that it kind of matches the book, because the book is not really just a straight memoir, and it's not really a photography book. It's kind of this mashup of things again. So it kind of fits with your general approach, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I wanted the book to be all over the place, because the label said, like, you want it to be precise, this subject, and I'm like, that's not my thing, I always been just fooling around with whatever, and so I like the way the book came out to this, because I wanted them to be sketchy, my instrument like designs, and I'm a really bad drawer, so it's funny to look at them, and I don't know, did you see some of the book yet? So there are some like sort of maps when I go on stage with my electronic things. So like what equipment I use, which knob to turn. Like it's I want it to be this very artsy fartsy book, and
Mission accomplished.
Hopefully the album, yeah.
Oh, did it take long to put together the book?
Say again?
Did it take long to put together the book?
Well, yeah, I've been thinking about like a photo book for a long time. So I started collecting maybe 3 years ago, photos. Then for my archives are really bad, but I managed to find all those stuff. And then just totally by coincidence, the Bureau B, they started like a book company.
Right.
And this is the first book from the
cool.
the book company, and they wanted it to be more like a memoir. But I was like, I've been planning a photo book. I don't want to do a memoir. Besides, I don't think there's that many like exciting things that happened in my life. I'm more like a little bit of a Zen kind of guy.
Did you I don't imagine you're the kind of guy who's kept a journal. So were these just so this was all just random memories kind of thing of this place and that gig and that guy and
yeah, that's why I needed the photos, because if I start to think, oh, what happened in 98, I don't remember anything. But if I see the photos, I remember everything, like, so that's why there was funny, like stuff from the Sonar in 98 when I had the kind of transvestite models on my catwalk show so that when I saw the photos, when I was sort of body painting them, I was like, yeah, I remember this was the cool stuff. And
it's kind of ironic.
I wrote on stage with White Horse during that gig and everything.
It's kind of ironic that they would ask you to do like, focus on one thing and just do a memo. It's like, have they not met you before?
Yeah. Well, it's a different culture, it's a German label. They are precise, and they want everything to be in order. So we had this English guy who was doing like a lot of the editing and fixing the grammar and stuff. And with him, we kind of tried to persuade the German guys to look, it's not Jimmy's thing to do it so organized. And they, yes, we see it now. We are too German. And yeah, it worked out really fine.
This way you have of working, this sort of creative restlessness and pinballing from one thing to the other. Have you always been that way? Where do you think you get it from?
I don't know where I get it from. Yeah, I've been quite restless. I never could decide if I want to be a photographer or like to be a musician. I've been going back and forth, and play saxophone. Oh no, I play flute. Oh, it's like, I don't know. These days, everybody wants to get like a diagnosis of some kind of mental disorder, but I don't think I have any. It's just, well, I could get one, but that wouldn't help anything.
Are you like that in other areas of your life?
No, I'm actually quite kind of laid back. So it's only when it comes to these artistic things that maybe I have a hard time to concentrate. Yeah, I play half an hour flute, half an hour sax, and do a little bit of this and that. So
let's talk about that. For example, what was your day today? Because when we're talking now, it's kind of 6 p.m. I think where you are. It's sort of the end of your working day, I guess. But
what did I do?
Yeah, what did you do today?
So I practiced some saxophone. Then I was programming my 808 drum machine. Or it's a copy. But anyway, my 808 drum machine and doing some sequences. Then I went back playing saxophone. Then I played a little bit of tennis because I have a tennis court next to me. It's a public course. So I did some serving. Then I went to meet my friend to get my modular synthesizer back from a gig. But it's a typical day.
Did you actually write anything today or record anything today?
Oh yeah, I mean, I did beats for my next gig. So
okay.
Maybe.
So do you make music like every single day, 7 days a week, pretty much?
Oh yeah, every day.
Oh, okay. Wow. So
maybe I should be more productive, but it's
maybe
in the 90s it was like, because I didn't have like computer. and my sequences and nothing, they didn't have a memory, you know, like, or it had memory as long as the power was on,
Right.
back in the day. So when I did some beats, there was no way of, you know, just leaving them like, oh yeah, maybe I'll come back to this tomorrow. No, you can't do that, because you have to finish it right then. And then, so then I did a lot of stuff, but of course half of it was, you know, not so good, but that's the way it goes.
So you must have just a vast archive of unreleased music by this point.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's if you do electronic music, and you record on 2 tracks,
right?
That's kind of like, I think it's quite common, because it's quite fast to make, and it's a little bit of a hit and miss.
But I mean,
a lot of the stuff has been released, especially by this Bureau B label. We found like a bag full of tapes from Warp Records, and we released them as a double album. Was it last year or 2 years ago?
Right. But still, I mean, do you ever, are you constantly like moving forward? I know you're constantly moving forward, but I mean, do you ever kind of think, oh, geez, you know, there was that song I you know, that thing I did 2 or 3 years ago, and now I want to go back to it, and now I want to use it?
Yeah, sure. Well, now since I have a computer, I can do that. So you know, sometimes I just go through the folders and I check, because, you know, things happen, like oh, you almost finish the track, and then you have to go somewhere and you forget about it, and or you couldn't do a vocal part or something, you couldn't figure out like the key melody or something like that. Then I go back for it. But most of the time there's nothing, but 1 out of 10 maybe there's something, then I return to.
So are all the songs on Multiversum brand new, or was there anything?
Oh yeah. I made this during the Corona. Okay. I love the Corona time, because there was no gigs, so I could concentrate quite a long time. I went to the summer house, and I wrote an album for big band, and I wrote this album too, and it was really easy, because I didn't have to go anywhere, and I couldn't meet anybody really except family members, because there wasn't any lockdown in Finland, but it was hard. There was no events, no cinema, so you could go to the supermarket, to a liquor shop, and that's about it.
So on this album, I mean, again, because you're sort of bouncing around like you tend to, I mean, is that the way you also, I mean, will you get up sort of one day and write a noirish jazz instrumental, and then in the afternoon you'll write a 60s pop song, and then maybe in the evening or do you write like in chunks of you'll do like jazz songs 3 or 4 in a row?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if I write for big band, for example, then I probably do the whole album at one go, because I mean, then my mind is in that direction. But if I don't have any specific project, then in the morning, I always write in the morning. So I try not to filter anything, just noodle with the electronics or with my flute or sax or whatever, and see what happens. And if it comes completely different than I thought, I'll take it, you know. But I think, yeah, if I was only doing like one genre, maybe that would be terrible thing. But for me, it works, because I don't care about the genre. I don't want to, I don't want to say to myself, I can't do that, because that's not me.
Right. Does the music typically, do you sit down with an idea and then go to the instrument you think it belongs on, or do you happen to just sit down with an instrument and start playing, and then a song comes out?
Yeah, the latter one. Yeah. Oh, okay. I hardly ever have an idea before I start sort of jamming, or unless I go for a walk, or you know, sometimes then I come up with the idea, or some kind of small lyric line or whatever. but yes, most of the time it's jamming.
And is there typically, I mean, do you typically go to the piano first, or is it a matter of you just get up one day and whatever you feel like doing is you know?
Yeah. I on purpose I try to
Mix it up.
take different approaches.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes, you know, because I make quite a lot of like DIY instruments, and
Yes.
these I love them because then you have 3 notes, maybe 5 notes sometimes, or whatever. So you can't be too technical about them, and they gives me ideas. Like sometimes with flute, it's too easy for me. I know everything, so it's a little bit. It's a restriction actually. Yeah. And
Right. Well, sometimes
I hardly ever write with piano. It's like it's just like it's not. I like some little mistakes in like. For example, when sampling came, I think it was really liberating because in the classical music, they are like kind of anally, some composers writing the quarter tones and stuff, sure. And then you come up with some kind of cluster. Oh my God, and it's very difficult to play. But then the hip hop guys came and you put a sampler, you tune, you know, sometimes the record player was out of pitch a little bit, right. And you put these things together and all of a sudden you have very nice, strange results that have no particular sort of like scale, or you have quarter tones, you have whatever, and it comes out naturally. And I like that kind of approach, which I get with the DIY instruments too. It's quite easy to get. Sort of, you don't know if it's in major or minor. It happens to me all the time. I get a little bit mixed up, which if it's major or minor. I'm not that kind of golden ear, but
wow. But how can you?
I prefer fun, you know.
Yeah, but how can you arrange for big band without sort of you know? Because I would think that's also very technical and precise. That you would need to have those really hardcore. You know, music skills, you know,
yeah,
come very naturally.
Yeah, well, yeah, with big band, it's difficult. It's different. Yeah, I have to make I mean, I just have to be realistic in that moment, because I've played with orchestras enough that I know that if the sheet music isn't precise, like correct, they don't play anything. You know, like. They just like, they say, this is shit, you know, we can't play this, you know, what is this? So, yeah, I just write it like in an old school way, try not to be too, I like to write parts that are quite easy to play. I mean, that it's comfortable to play, right. If you're a sax player or trumpet player, so I try to actually play the parts myself a little bit, so that it's nice, that it makes sense, that it's swinging and fun.
Yeah. One of the things I liked about the book that you mentioned that I wanted to ask you about is the homemade instruments. The photo phone to me is fascinating, and that giant sort of wooden marimba you built.
Yeah.
Are these things that, again, where do these ideas come from? Is it that you hear a sound and you're trying to find the way to replicate it, or is that you see a hunk of something and go, oh, I bet I can turn this into an instrument and let's see what it sounds like?
Yeah, maybe both. And I've been reading these books. There's a quite big community, people who make this sort of like simple instruments. I think even like Bob Moog, yeah.
Moog, yeah.
He was sort of like fascinated about this kind of like things, that he actually was hanging around with people who would do this like DIY.
Have you got any instruments? Have you got any other ideas? Are you working on any other new instruments right now?
At the moment, no, but I'm always interested in flutes, so I've been doing a lot of flutes.
Lizzo's kind of brought the flute back.
Yeah. Is this video interview, or are you gonna write things?
No, it's video. It's video.
because I have.
Go ahead, go grab it.
Yeah, yeah. Because I have this project, which is a huge one. It's here. It's an electric flute, so to speak.
Okay.
It's actually an acoustic instrument, but it's the fingerings. The fingerings work with electricity.
Holy cow!
Yeah, this was a huge project we had.
Wow, that looks like some sort of spacecraft.
Yeah, but if you look closely, there are solenoids here.
Right.
And when I finger here,
yeah,
I finger the solenoids close the tone holes. So this is a diatonic version, but it's a regular flute, you know, like it's out of battery
so
now.
Like each hole is kind of separately mic'd. Is that sort of the way that would work?
No. It's totally like a regular alto flute.
Okay.
See here my fingerings.
Right.
But now it's the battery. I think it's dead.
Right.
So we have a battery here, and when I press, for example, this knob, then this pad will close.
I see. So you just have the little.
It's a completely regular flute, but it instead of having the axles and stuff, the pads close with electricity.
Wow.
Our idea was to make like huge instruments, you know, like a tuba with this kind of, so you could play like lightning fast with that.
Cool. Do you get patents on these things?
Huh?
Do you get patents on these things?
We tried to make a patent, but it was actually the idea of this kind of pad was patented by an English flute player in 1965. This woman, I can't remember her name, but she made a patent, and then that was kind of it.
But she never did anything with it, so you can pick it up, I guess.
Well, I think it was too early, because then during those days the battery was like
right.
You know, like
a car battery.
Yeah. And so it didn't work out. Even now we have a problem with the battery, because I mean people play like 8 hours a day, you know, some professionals, so that's kind of like a challenge with.
Yeah. So Lizzo's kind of brought the flute into the pop realm these days.
Who? Say.
Lizzo, the American pop singer Lizzo. Have you heard of her?
Oh no, I don't. Oh, she's playing flute.
Yeah, she's hugely popular. Lizzo. Look her up. She plays flute in her music and on stage, and I think, you know, she actually has like more kids playing flute.
All right, so it's become a trend. Great.
Yeah. You and her.
Yeah, when I started with flute, I mean, you couldn't bring flute to a rehearsal. Everybody would just laugh. You're so stupid, like flute. Yeah. But then luckily, you know, the hip hop samples like changed all that. There was all of a sudden like a cool flute sample, and then flute. Yeah, we like.
So have you ever had writer's block?
Yeah, well, yeah, not really. No, I mean, I sort of try to work my way out of it somehow.
Yeah. So it seems like it's just a tap you can turn on for you.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, something comes out normally. I mean, the kind of music I make, it's like it's a little bit hard to have a huge writer's block, I have to say, like, because I can always make some kind of quite artistic sort of like noise or whatever, and you know, there's a track if I have a block.
Yeah, and you've collaborated also with so many people. I mean, that must help. What is it that you enjoy about collaboration as opposed to sitting in your room by yourself and recording?
Well, that's it. You know, I can go and meet some people instead of just staying home.
Are you not social otherwise?
No, not that social.
Oh, okay. So this is the way. This is
I have family and I have kids, so you know, I get to meet people. But yeah, I mean, if you just write music all day, it gets lonely. And But then sometimes it's really great fun, like when I stuff with Tony Allen. So
Yes.
that was a special thing. Of course, I was very nervous because Tony was like all respected guy, and you know, he totally didn't know anything about me. And then we meet in the studio, and it's okay, what should we do? And it was a little bit tough first, but
well, you can't tell. I mean,
we
those
had
are
a little lunch and wine, and everything turned out well. You know, like a couple of jokes, and it's all good.
Oh yeah, and I mean those albums are fantastic. Is there anybody else that you would, if you could collaborate with anybody, anywhere, anytime, living or dead, who would it be?
I like to do something with the Sun Ra Orchestra. I mean, yeah,
I'm
like
amazed
Marshall
you
Allen,
haven't.
but Marshall Allen must be 98 or something. He's very old.
Yeah.
Perhaps like there's some plans that I would do some gig with them this year, but I'm not sure if it's going to happen. I hope.
What else are you? I mean, you know, I'm guessing you probably are already 3 or 4 albums ahead or something. What else is, what's next for you? What's coming up?
This one Jimi Tenor and Kabu Kabu album that comes out from this what's the label? But it's from this guy DJ Sotofet. He kind of we made one album which we didn't release like 5 years ago or something.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know what to do with the mixing, and then he took the tracks and he made some sort of dub album.
Oh, wow.
It's gonna be nice. I think the label is called Six Tags. It's like a Berlin label.
So if you know, your catalog is just so vast. Aside from obviously your latest album, do you have a favorite album, or do you have an album that you would say to people, you know, if you've never heard my music at all, here's a good place to start?
Yeah, maybe put my first the Sähkömies album on Sähkö Recordings '94, which for me it changed everything, because before that, well, my music it just didn't work out, and then all of a sudden this one came out really nice and kind of changed my life. So after that, I was able to be a professional musician. But then maybe later on, Joy Stone with Jimi Tenor and Kabu Kabu. It's a nice one. You know, I was on fire when I was writing that, because it was first time I worked with this kind of African, the whole group, mostly African guys, and I think I need to, you know, concentrate on writing, and I think it came out really good.
Oh, definitely. And I wanted to read you a quote from the book. And speaking of albums, you write in the book, "Out of Nowhere was a difficult album to make. I had lost touch with reality a bit at that stage."
Yeah.
And there's no explanation to that. What do you mean by that?
I thought I could do anything, you know. And then, do something with the symphony orchestra. Yeah, let's do it. And I never written anything for symphony orchestra. I mean, that far, I've only written for like horn arrangements for my own band.
Oh, okay.
So then we hire like orchestrator and stuff, and this guy is a total loser, and I had to fire him. And then there's 2 weeks to go to record the album, and this is really difficult time, and I had to actually, I got a finale 1.0 from the Conservatory of Music, you know, like, okay, this is a notation program, let's start practicing how it goes. I have no education or whatever in you know, like arranging. So yeah, that was a bit tough, but I think things had been going so well with the Warp Records for me, and I thought, you know, I'm invincible or something, you know, just partying all the time, going crazy.
Are you still photographing, doing a lot of photography?
Well, not a lot, but I do it. when we need PR shots or album cover. I have this camera with a, you go under the hood and you think it's like 120 years old camera, but I have a new lens, like a Schneider lens, very fancy.
Okay. You don't have like a trough of gunpowder, do you?
No, I don't have that. I wish I had, because that makes a really nice light.
I imagine, yeah.
Yeah, I have some studio flash that I use. Yeah.
Wow. Do you think you'll ever slow down, or are you just going to keep moving at this pace until they finally just take you out feet first one day?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I that's what I hope. There's this really cool radio program here in Finland called, it's about people who die on stage, like Tiny Tim and
right.
what's the magician guy? A lot of magicians actually, they die of the bullet catching thing. And yeah, I mean, that's not my dream. That's not my dream. But Lexi's working with Tony Allen. He was 79, I think.
Right.
The only thing that stopped him was the COVID,
Yeah.
And before that, he would be always on tour. And then all of a sudden, COVID came. He had to stay home, and he couldn't deal with that. And maybe I don't know what happened to him. Maybe he just, because he didn't have the regular discipline that he would normally have. Go to the airport or whatever, go to the rehearsals. And
yeah, it was like B.B. King kind of just kept touring and touring and touring and touring, and
yeah,
he had dementia and some of those later gigs. I saw one and it was still B.B. King, but he was kind of playing the same song over and over, but it was clearly just being on the road and working was what kept him alive,
Yeah.
So if you want to die on stage, what gig would you want it to be? What kind of show would you want it to be?
Well, hopefully some kind of massive retrospective of my stuff, which never has been done. I mean, I've done some of this sort of like the best of gigs in Hamburg at the Elb Philharmonie, which is a huge venue, and so yeah, those gigs have been great, because it's kind of long gig, and I can play a lot of the stuff that was like with a big band. So, but maybe with big band, some strings and a choir, that would be the perfect thing. Because I have quite a lot of songs which have choir and a lot of vocals. So,
well, there's something to look forward to. What about a box set? I mean, it would seem to me that your career would be the kind of thing that just cries out for, a 5 or 6 album set of, all these different eras and all these different phases and all these different styles. Is that something you would like to do, or is it even possible given? Yeah.
For sure. Maybe with this Bureau B label, that would be great, because they are most like a reissue label.
Okay.
And since now I've done the book with them, I think in the package there should be also the photo book, or this book, whatever. But yeah, because I like all kinds of art. I like the sort of the 1920s, the surrealist, the way they made art and they made films. They didn't have a huge budget or anything, or when they made the ready-made sculptures and things like this. I like that kind of art approach, and I think that's sort of the way I've been doing art. Like you don't necessarily need a big budget. Sometimes actually big budget is harmful, and try to keep things fun, a little bit. I mean, not fun, haha, but like that is enjoying. It's enjoyable to do it. You get some ideas and you do it.
Well, it seems to be working for you.